Okay, while I wait, and in case there's some snafu and it doesn't go off, um, while I wait for the thing, I guess I'll bring it up and check this every once in a while. It'll be a multitasking kind of a thing. Um, I told him he didn't answer, but that I wanted to make an opening statement, which is because he has this policy of he wants to really drive the conversation and the topic. So, basically, I want to state that I've only reviewed his article just today, his argument just today. Prior to today, I'd seen one video of his where he doesn't mention what the actual argument is, and I thought he might just intend to have surprise argument. I didn't know what to expect. He applies a little bit of showmanship. And I accepted the debate prior to knowing the argument. He told me what it was, and I saw that I'd be able to review it before the debate. But to just accept the debate without knowing it, that was part of the challenge. I don't know. I felt like that. I've since watched the Elliot Argument, the Cosmology Argument, shorter version of that, some bits of others, like his How to Defend the Elliot Argument. I rewatched the Elliot Argument just a bit ago and noticed something I missed, which it was the explanation of he calls himself atheist killa, but with an A, because it's not real killing, it's just to their argument, their hopes and dreams. It's showmanship. So I appreciate some showmanship. It's fine. I don't do it though. So the problem with this argument is that is all in premise one. Because which I could get into this stuff, but and I will. I'll get into the rest of my notes too. Let me check. No. Comment. Nope, not here. Oh, somebody's asking. You probably love seeing all that, huh? Okay, just telling somebody about what's going on. Okay, where was I? Yeah, it's in premise one, because something that space and time are eternal is not an impossible idea. So, because they could transfer into something else besides space and time for a while, and then bounce back. I mean, the energy that makes them up is still going to be around and forming something. Okay, and if something can be eternal, like the uncreated creator, then anything could be, right? Or let's come up with the criteria. Okay. So, also I wanted to define irrational, illogical, and no evidence, because he loves to say that the atheists his argument proves that atheism and atheists are irrational, illogical, and have no evidence. So, rational means it's involving measurement, which is a comparison or ratio. Like you compare something to a yardstick, and if it's exactly the same size, then it's 1, and if it's half as big, it's half. 1/2, that's a ratio. Measurement is comparison, is ratios. That's what rationality means, is that there's been some measurement. Okay, rational is covered. Logic, Western Standard Logic, aka predicate logic. For example, as commonly thought of as formalized by Aristotle. And as evidence, we're talking material recording of some property, right? Which generally would be, involve rationality as well, right there. Evidence is a rational thing. You have to measure something, or as we experience it, perceive it. So, properties are just our perception of a relationship to something else. and it exists by extension to us. The cogito ergo sum means that we exist no matter what. Doesn't matter, even if we're a dream, because we're thinking. If the universe were a dream, it still exists as a dream, and ironically, perhaps that would imply there was a God. If there was a dream existence and God would act as the dreamer. But I don't think life is a dream, for various reasons. I'm a materialist. And so to me that means I focus on things that matter, so-called material facts, which have consequence, facts that have some consequence. So let me see. Yeah, I used the wrong time in the original thing. Okay, so let me check again. If it's not here, I'm just going to continue the freaking video until it either shows up or... It's not here, but people are asking me, what's going on with the debate? Showman's got to be on time, man. I told him about 8:30. I sent him a note about 8:30. Okay, so I have some notes here. So, right. He has some acronyms. STE for space and time are eternal. And something that really should be SCCFN, I think. Something can come from nothing. But he has a longer phrase, but the letters in his acronym don't match the phrase. Whatever, that's okay. I like that he's putting concepts into acronyms. That's efficient. Okay. So his he says that both STE and SCCFN are illogical. So both space and time are eternal, and something can come from nothing are illogical, irrational, and have zero evidence. Okay, that's what I will be disagreeing with. Space and time can be eternal, and there's various ways to interpret what that would mean. He has point 2 out of 3, which I call the 3-option rule. He says, look, you have to either choose that there's an uncaused creator, or you need to believe that space and time are eternal, or you need to believe that something can come from nothing. And I actually agree that I believe, as STE. There is somebody tried to add the I don't know option, and I saw some video replies that were thinking that's a good option. I happen to agree with 530 on this one, that that can be in there as option 0. It's not really an option, it's a reserving doubt. Because the thing is, I don't know what it is, but you can exclude possibilities. I mean, my disagreement with the idea of a God is the definition. Now, the particular definition of an uncaused creator is a problem for me, because I don't have never seen anything that was uncaused. There's always a further cause going back, which implies that things are eternal. And already, and that's what we see. We don't see, anything that begins is actually made from something else. An embryo absorbs the material around it. I mean, the things that make it up are the nutrients it was given out of the food. I mean, it was already existed. It gets rearranged. So I've not seen anything uncaused or eternal as it's defined in his definition of it. So STE seems quite logical. Now, what are the various things? Well, people that are familiar with me anyway would know, that those are all open questions. But we do triangulate, and some things can be, eliminated. For example, God is not a big turtle that shat out the stars. Okay, that does not accord with the facts. Okay, there would be some facts, so that would have to just be a metaphor. Now, it could be metaphorically true, but then that metaphors are open to a lot of interpretation, so it's not really clear what that would mean. I think that the 530 is trying to not go that route and trying to be focused on a logical argument. And then point 3 is just that atheists deny the uncaused creator, and that's true. So my questions are, how is STE illogical, irrational, or have zero evidence? I point out he assumes there's a beginning to the universe. I don't understand that. I'm curious to investigate what he thinks the nature of God's relationship is to the physical sense. If God touches the physical, then the physical reacts back. I mean, if he sees something on planet Earth that's physical, then it's in God's mind, in his unphysical world, so he has a connection. So God is connected to the physical. Personally, that's what defines the physical as that kind of interaction. So if God exists as part of the physical universe, even if it's some weird power, we'll never have any influence or control on it. Just like if there was a universe of antimatter, we might never interact with it, but it's still out there. So and also finally that if things can be eternal, and that would be the a necessary thing, then you can have a Spinozan God. We could still say, well, there is an eternal God, but it could be the universe itself distributed. And a lot of scientists have that kind of view because that makes it compatible with the physical materialism. When you're studying physics, you're studying the body of God, very similar to any Christian scientist that is studying the workings of God. There's ways to rectify this, of course. So anyway, did he send this thing to me? Those are my notes anyway, so. No. Well, maybe it's off. Who knows what the fuck. I mean, he knew what time it was, even if I screwed it up to you guys. Sorry about that. I said 9 Pacific. Somebody's speculating in the comments that he might not send the link. Well, that's okay, because I made my response to him anyway, so I did debate him, but he wanted a live debate. That was more something he was proposing, but it's only 9:06, so